to tell me, I'll make a confession right now, about Meghan Markle, who's finally now released her long-promised podcast. I am fascinated by Markle, and I know it's in a way that's not healthy. It's like I'm always looking for the ultimate proof, to say, see, I was right. That woke generation that she and her husband, Prince Harry, so perfectly represent, they really are totally self-obsessed. Here is civilization in decline. But when I do get that proof, I go from I was right to, oh no, I was right. So it's not really healthy. Yet there I was this morning, listening to Markle's first real podcast for Spotify. And I have to say that poor Meghan gave us exactly what she promised in her promo.
People should expect the real me in this, and probably the me that they've never gotten to know, certainly not in the past few years, where everything is through the lens of the media, as opposed to, hey, it's me.
Yes, tragically for Meghan Markle, this podcast really does show the real her, and she can't blame journalists this time. I'll play you some of it, but just the timing of this first episode already says so much. I mean, Markle and Prince Harry, they signed up with Spotify 3 years ago when their stocks were as high as the dirt they were dumping on the royals, in a deal reportedly worth between $20 million and $45 million. Now, their pay was so gigantic that I would assume that Markle and Harry that have felt some obligation to straight away go sit down behind a microphone and start to earn all that money. But the two of them are the royals of a generation which feels like it's owed, not like it actually owes. They did not record a single word for Spotify all last year, and this one too, until now. And that alone, to me, suggests a monstrous sense of entitlement. See, I was right. And that suggestion is confirmed now that Spotify did somehow manage to finally wrestle Markle into a studio. Her first guest in this planned series on famous women is tennis star Serena Williams, introduced by Markle as my dear, dear friend, the greatest of all time.
What made you want to do this with me? Besides the fact that you're my girl.
I was going to say, because I love you. Anything you want me to do, I'm going to do.
Thank you.
I believe in you.
So you'll probably gather already from that Meghan Markle is the kind of social climber who pumps up her guests and their friendship, not so much to flatter them, but to flatter herself. Look at the company I'm keeping. In fact, in Serena Williams' glittering career on the courts, never would she have won this many games to love.
But you are such an amazing mom.
I think you're fearless.
You look beautiful.
I also just wanted you to just understand what it meant to have your support.
You made pregnancy look so sexy.
I love how you speak to me. If I do say so myself.
I think you get the message. This podcast is to tell you that Meghan Markle, the former Hollywood struggler once marooned as a model on Deal or No Deal, now has the world famous friends. Famous friends who say nice things about her, even if she has to lubricate them with gushes of her love before they let it out. In fact, this supposed interview of Williams actually has far more of Markle, who claims to be exploring how some women broke through stereotypes to succeed, like, Meghan Markle. But I don't want to suggest, that Markle was dead to the suffering that her dear, dear friend Williams had endured on her way to also becoming mega rich, mega famous, and mega pampered. No, not at all. On this podcast, you can hear Markle sympathising with her friend Williams, her dear, dear friend, in a way that's a bit like that old joke, that's enough of me talking about myself. What do you think of me?
In our friendship, when you have to see things that are mischaracterizing of me, but you experience behind closed doors the pain that I'm going through.
I love it. How painful for you to hear bad things said about me. But somewhere in this chat, Markle clearly felt that something was missing. Even more of herself. Williams had just told a great story, you see, of winning a match at the French Open after staying up all night. Her baby had fractured her wrist. Williams felt guilty. She rushed the baby to the hospital and then rocked her to sleep until morning.
So I think I got like 30 minutes of sleep. And then I had to go play this match. And I'm just thinking, how am I going to play? I somehow managed to win, but I was so emotionally spent.
So, a terrific insight into Williams' obsession, her passion, her focus. But this was rather taking the spotlight off Meghan Markle. What could she do about that? Well, Markle told her dear friend, this reminded her of something that had happened to her.
Just like when we went on our tour to South Africa, we landed with Archie. Archie was, 4.5 months old? And the moment we landed, we had to drop him off at this housing unit that they had us staying in.
Hang on, let me just interrupt that story with a fact check, because Markle has a long history of not telling the truth. I mean, she once claimed she was an only child, for instance. That mere housing unit in South Africa, she said the family had been made to stay in. They had to stay there. Is actually the British High Commissioner's residence in Cape Town, according to reporters at the time. I would call that actually a mansion rather than a housing unit. But, you know, Markle, or it seems to me, was trying to top Williams' story of tough times, so housing unit it is. But back to her story. Right, she's dumped her baby, Archie, with his nanny, who's come with them from Britain, and Meghan and Harry then go off to their first official function when suddenly terrible news.
We finish the engagement, we get in the car, and they say, there's been a fire at the residence. What? There's been a fire in the baby's room. What?
Yeah, what? Well, it turns out the heater was on fire in the baby's room, which is a bit odd, really, because the day wasn't cold. I mean, Harry was in his shirt sleeves all day, and yeah, but still, you know, very dramatic, except for the fact that even Meghan had to admit too that the nanny and baby Archie weren't actually in the room at the time. The nanny had got hungry and took Archie downstairs with her long before there was any fire. But still, you know, drama, danger, tears, and a cruel royal family that just made this poor Meghan Markle go to another function that night.
Everyone's in tears, everyone's shaken. And what did we have to do? Go out and do another official engagement. And I said, this doesn't make any sense.
Oh, those heartless royals. That poor victim, this poor mother, crying for a baby that, well, was actually perfectly safe with her nanny. But it could have been. I mean, you know, anything could have happened if the baby had been somewhere else and the nanny hadn't been there and the fire really was bad, and anything could have happened. But then Markle suddenly twigs to a weakness in this life or death story that she's telling her dear friend, Serena.
Stop.
God, I can't believe we haven't talked about this.
Well, actually, nor can I believe it. I mean, I also can't believe that Markle, who is a relentless self-publicist, craving victimhood, has for 3 years also not told this dramatic story to, for instance, any one of 1 million journalists, or to the authors of that approved story of her life with Harry, or to Oprah Winfrey. She's been only too quick to believe Meghan's other tall tales.
What?
And
Who is having that conversation with you?
Yet for 3 years, this story about a terrible fire that nearly killed baby Archie has apparently been kept secret. Can you believe it? And now it's out, and it's done the job. And Serena Williams' story about the French Open, that gallant fight she had, has been trumped. And around the world, we read instead headlines like this: Meghan Markle says royal handlers sent her out to work right after Archie's room caught fire. How perfect for Markle. Brilliant publicity for a podcast that, to the various critics who've actually listened to it, rates just 1 star. But for Markle, it's job done. There she is on her mountain of Spotify gold, crying, "What about me?" And around the world, millions of narcissistic woke who are her fans, they cry with her.